Hello and welcome to the InNews series of Drishti IAS. I am Ritu and today's session is about China's debt policy, and this session is important for your GES 3 perspective as well as 2 perspective. And moving towards the points of discussion part. So first of all we are going to discuss the news, then we are going to discuss about the debt trap diplomacy, then we are going to discuss that how this diplomacy is working in the context of China, then we are going to discuss practice question for prelims. Before that you have to like, share and subscribe to this DI channel. Moving towards the news part. So before moving to the news part, I want to make an important announcement for you. Drishti IAS Mukherjee Nagar classes has been shifted to the Noida and our new address is C171/2 Block A Sector 15 Noida Uttar Pradesh and nearest metro station is Noida Sector 15. This is our calling number 9311406440. Coming to the news part. So the news is that there is a report published by World Bank and the report name is International Debt Report 2024, and in this report there was a section on China, that how China has largest stakes in the debt market and how China is lending to the other countries, especially the South Asian country. So here we are going to analyze all those things. So we'll come to the, first of all we should know that what is this debt trap diplomacy. So debt trap diplomacy is that, suppose that there are two countries here, A and B. So what is here, that A is lending money to the B. So here B is the borrower. Suppose that B is Sri Lanka and A is China. So China is giving money to the Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka is taking money from the China. So this is called that China is providing debt to the Sri Lanka. So what is the here term diplomacy here? So suppose that if any country is lending money to the another countries, and what happens that the country is unable to pay. Sometimes there is always a debt trap policy and the country is unable to pay. In that situation, what happens that there is a political and economic concession given to the country who is giving money to another country. So this is called as debt diplomacy, and that's why we can see that this is not only economically what you can say advancing any countries, it is also politically favoring other countries, because if you have taken money from the other country and if you want to repay it and you don't have money, so there are involvement in your politics, there are involvement in other scenario also. So that's why this is called as debt trap diplomacy, and which is happening around the world, and so many countries are part of this debt trap policy and so many countries are successfully using it as a diplomacy. Now we'll come to the data part. So this is the case of China. So here is a graph. So this is the 1973 year and this is the 2023 year. So what we can see that in 2023 China's stake is 25%. And before moving to any discussion, here we are talking about the bilateral trades only. Here we are not talking about the any institutions like World Bank, IMF or other things. It is bilateral trade only. So bilateral debt only. So here what we can see that in 1973 China's stake is this much, which is what you can say 1 or 2%, and here in 2023 what we can see that 25%. This is very huge. And here what we can see that in case of other thing, that in 1973 Japan has this share of 10.5% in the debt market. Then in 2023 Japan has exceeded to 16.3%, and what we can see that in 1973 China was nowhere, but here in 2023 China's stake is 26%. In case of Netherlands it is 9.6%. In case of US in what you can see in 1973 it was 36.2%, and right now it has reduced to just 4.2%. So this is the case of the other countries, and we can see that how China has established itself in the case of the debt diplomacy. Now we'll come to the another aspect. So another aspect is that these are the round circles which tells that how much money they had lent from the China. So the bigger the bubble, the bigger the money. So here in case of Pakistan, we can see Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Egypt, Angola. So we can see that how much money they had taken. Now here we'll analyze that how much each countries had taken. So we will see the external debt stock owed by all countries. Here we are talking about the all countries. So it has increased from 49.5 billion to 74.741.4 billion between 1973 to 2023. So from 49.5 billion, it has become 741 billion. So this has increased by total countries. Here in case of China, if you'll see, this is huge. So it was 1 billion and right now it is $193.1 billion. So $1 billion and here $193.1 billion. So what we can see that how much China has made its growth into this thing. So here if we'll understand these things, that what happened in this case. So what here we can see that in 2003 it was 1%. And it has surged by 16.6% by 2013, and by 2023 it has surged by 26%. And this is the case of China. And here we can see that in last 20 years, what we can see that there was an increase of 26%. And in last decade, there was an increase of around 10%, which is a huge by any country. Now, we'll come to the another aspect of it, the share of the external debt stock owed by the top lenders in 1973. So the US was top lender at that point of time, but right now we can see that US has reduced to just 4%. And here what we can see that external debt stock owed to the US drastically reduced from 36% to just 4%. And Netherlands was the third biggest lender after China and Japan. But all these scenarios has changed. Right now the Japan is into the picture, the China is into the picture, but US is nowhere into the picture. So here what we can see that if you'll see the country wise, so the Pakistan has owed $22 billion to China by the end of 2023, and this is the 60% of their overall bilateral debt. In case of what we can see that other countries just like Laos, so Laos has owed to $6 billion from China, and which is the 75% of its bilateral external debt. So what here we can see in case of Sri Lanka also we can see that. So there is a problem. If you'll see and if you'll analyze the bilateral debt owned, bilateral trade owed by the China, what here we can see that the country is into the financial crisis. And after taking loan from the China, the country has became more financially vulnerable because they are unable to pay. As a result, they have to give their infrastructure, they have to give their market. And in the case of Sri Lanka, we can see that they had to give this Hambantota. So this is the scenario of many countries, especially in the African countries and South Asian country. So this is a very huge issues in terms of the debt diplomacy, and this is not healthy for the overall world scenario because one country is becoming so much powerful, and by this debt diplomacy the country is involving into the internal matters of the other countries, and that will be, there are chances that there is a more chaotic situation in terms of politics, in terms of economics. So here we must see that how country should stay away from this debt trap diplomacy. Now we'll come to the question part. What percentage of the world's bilateral external debt was owed to China by the end of 2023? 16.6%, 26%, 36%, 50%. This is very easy one. You can answer into the comment section. I hope you like this session. If you have any queries related to this session, kindly ask in the comment section. Thank you. Have a nice day.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.